Good morning. We have a lot to cover this morning, so we're getting started pretty quickly. Shh. We're starting before 8 o'clock. So come in quietly. Good morning. Today is Monday, February 14th, and it's an E-Day on your schedule. Today's Valentine's Day. Woo! You guys are all dressed nice in pink. And today for lunch is Valentine's Day Perfect Pairs menu. Rip to all the single folks out there. And now we have a senior presentation by Mina Dreschman.
Okay, happy Valentine's Day, guys. Okay, I started thinking about my senior presentation as soon as my older sister had presented hers 4 years ago. What was I going to write about? Do I have anything inspiring to tell you guys? Am I even an interesting person? Coming up with this topic was challenging, to say the least, but I'm going to tell you the story of how I realized the commitment of joining sports team just isn't for me. My family always thought I was an athletic person, and maybe I am, but it's the commitment that always stops me. Anyways, it started with soccer way back when I was a naive little girl, 5 or 6 years old. Now I know everyone played soccer, so I'm not really sure how I started playing, but I loved the rush and I was pretty good at it. I played soccer for 6 years and eventually just stopped. I don't even know why I did, but I guess it just didn't hold my attention as much as I did when it first started. And I eventually got bored. My dad also hated driving out to away games, so I felt bad making him drive me. This was also around the same time I began to swim. My grandma had a pool at her house, and as soon as my little feet hit the water, I felt as confident as if I could do anything. So my sister and I joined the Storm swim team. To be honest, the swimming phase of mine went on for a long time. I would get extremely competitive among my fellow swimmer friends, but I wouldn't let anyone or anything stop me. I was obsessed. My first swimming phase came to a roaring stop around 2 years later when I found something new, thus sprouting into a new phase. In 2014, 4th grade, I went to Olmsted 64. I sat in my teacher, Miss Bajak's room, waiting to be taught long division. I'm not sure who thought it was a good idea for a classroom designed for 8-year-olds to be surrounded by glass windows, because I was for sure distracted quite often. But it was on a warm, sunny day when I looked out these huge windows and saw a horse roaming around in the stables next to my school. Anyways, I went home that day going straight to my parents saying I wanted to do horseback riding. Eventually, after some convincing, I started riding lessons. I just want to say now that I'm very sorry to both my parents, and I know how expensive all of that was. And well, it gets worse. So I started riding twice a week. My mom bought me all the clothing and equipment I needed, all of which was super expensive. I even told her I'd wear these clothes outside of riding, which was a big, fat lie on my part. After a whopping 4 months, things started to take a turn. One day I was taking out this horse named Lucky. He was a cute horse, but he was in fact not lucky. I was maybe 4'9", 4'11", short and small, not a combo I'd recommend when riding horses. All I remember, though, was his long neck coming down to bite me. I've tried to cut that out of my memory since that day was so scary, but it's super hard to do so when it literally happened more than once. Writing this actually made me question the trainer's choices. I questioned why she gave me the same horse after he repeatedly tried to take my life. So that ended my horse phase. It was fun while it lasted, but never again. On to the next, gymnastics. I think this was by far my favorite sport I've done. Before I took any lessons, I would watch people on YouTube doing aerials, backflips, and back tucks. And I thought to myself, wow, I want to be able to do that. My sister and I, again, became obsessed. We would practice at every free moment we had. After many late nights of fails and hurt ankles, my parents finally decided that maybe some actual lessons would do us good, probably hoping one of us would opt out. I joined a team and started going to practices. Well, after a solid 6 months of this, I was asked to be on the travel team. By now, you might guess how this ended. I ended up opting out. I wish I knew why I quit all these sports, but I really have no explanation. Middle school was really weird. I'm not even sure what happened during it, but I do remember the sports I did. I joined the swim, the tennis, the track, and the cross-country team, all basic sports which didn't make me happy or excited. When I got to high school, I felt like I needed to do a sport. I did swimming again, thinking maybe I'd love it again, track, and crew for 3 seasons, which was one of my favorites, but is severely hated by my back and my chiropractor. The saddest of all was basketball, which I played for a week, which felt like a year. Although basketball was super fun and I liked the coaches and the team, I felt like maybe I wasn't fit for basketball. I definitely recommend trying out, though. It was a super fun week. During February of my junior year, I got a job, and now I would much rather work than play a sport, but I would never take any of these decisions back. To this day, my family still makes fun of me for quitting, but I'd rather think of it as stuff I experienced and enjoyed at the time and then moved on from. I'm very thankful for each and every one of these memories and opportunities that my parents have given me because it made me who I am today. I'm happy to say that I love working, and I aim to find a job in my future that allows me to constantly feel as if I have a new purpose.
Thank you, Mina. I like the track phase the most. And now we have another senior presentation by Gabby Odo.
I find it fascinating that we learn practically everything by watching and doing. From learning to talk and walk all the way to learning how to check on a prescription, tip servers, and even how to professionally speak on the phone. Although I learned almost everything from those around me, there was one thing I had to teach myself: how to have a healthy relationship with money. Since my childhood, I've always been very attached to money. My dad likes to joke that I probably still have the first dollar I was ever given. Even though I didn't have much when I was a kid, I felt like I couldn't let go of any of it. When I was young, my parents did buy me all my necessities, so there shouldn't even have been a worry about money. However, parting with money caused me a lot of anxiety. When I spent money, I felt like I constantly had to count and keep track of it. It felt as if it chipped away at my soul. I'm not being overly dramatic when I say it. I honestly felt like I was letting go of a piece of me. This issue stuck with me for a long time, and the constant anxiety of my relationship with money took a toll on me. I remember one day in the car, I tried to explain to my Nana how letting go of money made me feel. And she told me, yes, it can be hard to let go of money, but sometimes you have to enjoy it too. At the time, I couldn't wrap my head around what she said. How can I learn to balance saving and spending money? Eventually, I turned 16. It was a big year for me. That year, I would get my permit and finally get a real job. I succeeded getting my first job the summer before my junior year, and I've been working ever since. In fact, if you were to ask any of my friends what I like to do after school, they would probably tell you all I do is work. And they wouldn't be wrong. That first job I mentioned was a sub shop in Kenmore, and they weren't stingy with their hours. I began to work up to 40 hours a week, and I'm not even sure if it was legal for them to give me that many hours. This was not easy. I began to have no social life, because if I wasn't working, I was catching up on homework or studying. It was important for me to keep my grades up as I worked in order to ensure that in my future, I won't ever have to work at a sub shop again. But I kept up with it, and at 16 years old, I became a manager. I began to see what hard work can do for you. Not only did I see my bank account rise, but I was given greater responsibilities, which led to more money. This is when it finally hit me that often in life, hard work can really pay off. It would be great if I could say this was the end of my story, but at this point, working became an addiction in a way. As I watched my account rise, I felt that if I wasn't working, I wasn't doing enough with my life. I was at the point in my life where it was time to save for a car. Transportation to school and work was very important, but I also wanted to be independent and not rely on my parents as much. Now, as I said before, money has always been something I've been attached to, and cars are not cheap, so I began to work even harder. I worked the most ridiculous hours, once even hitting 13 hours in one day. In my head, I thought if I can work any chance I was given, I would be financially stable enough for a car. And everything was going okay, except for the fact that COVID messed up everyone's plans. I'm sure many of you don't know this, but for a month of junior year, I was not a Buffalo Seminary student. COVID took a financial toll on my family, and there was no way we can continue to come to the school. I suddenly found myself a Kenmore West Blue Devil, and if it wasn't completely at-home learning, there might have been a chance it would have worked out. But of course, that wasn't the case. I felt completely isolated online with a bunch of kids that I knew nothing about. I couldn't text anyone to ask questions. I felt that I couldn't speak up in class or ask for help, and I just missed being with my friends. I began to hate the situation I was put into, and I needed to take it upon myself to change my situation. Because of my frustration, I personally contacted SEM. After many emails directed towards me and private emails between the admissions office, Miss Marlette, and my parents, they generously let me come back, but the deal with my parents was that I had to pay my own tuition. These monthly payments were very hard on me. At 16, I was beginning to be financially responsible for myself. But it was also the first time I spent a large portion of money on myself. It took a while to adjust to monthly tuition payments, but I was still trying to save for my goal of buying a car. The goal, however, was becoming more and more difficult to achieve, and although the thought of getting a car started to feel impossible, my hard work didn't go unnoticed. I constantly talked about getting a car until out of the blue, my aunt just told me she would give me her son's car. Although I thought she was joking, she came to my house one day and told me the car was mine. And if you have seen my car, you know it has a lot of character, but I am extremely grateful. I continued to work at the sub shop, which allowed me to keep up with my bills, but I began to outgrow working there. It became a chore. Something I was once so addicted to made me miserable. I became a robot. Without anything new to learn, everything became tedious, and it was time for a change. I knew I couldn't quit without a plan. I had to find a new job. One day in the senior lounge, Nevaeh mentioned her job and the amount of money she made. She encouraged me to fill out an application, and because of Nevaeh, I was able to leave the job that made me miserable in order for a fresh start. But new starts can be scary. It was hard to not be able to just go in and do what I do best. This was a completely different atmosphere with all new people. I went from a gross sub shop to a fine dining restaurant, and I'm a shy person, so it was definitely a challenge. When I saw, though, that I could work many fewer days and hours while still making the same amount of money as the old job, I was hooked. I'm telling you this story not to bore you with the details of my life, but to explain how I came to learn what my Nana had once tried to explain to me. I didn't learn a lesson from someone telling me, but I did by living the experience myself. I learned to make money, have fun, and save. The comfort my job has brought me makes it possible for me to treat myself and others without experiencing anxiety over every penny. It gave me the ability to let go of my attachment to money and still be responsible for money. Thank you.
I felt that character part. The roll of windows and manual locks really hit different. And now we have a Valentine's Day song by Nora Collins and Roan Brown.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Okay. This is home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alabama, Arkansas, I do love my mom and pa, not the way that I do love you.
Well, holy moly, me oh my, you're the apple of my eye. Girl, I never loved one like you.
Man, oh man, you're my best friend. I scream into the nothingness. There ain't nothing that I need.
Well, hot and heavy pumpkin pie, chocolate candy, Jesus Christ, ain't nothing pleased me more than you.
Home, let me come home. Home is wherever I'm with you. Home, let me go home. Home is wherever I'm with you.
I'll follow you into the park, through the jungle, through the dark. Girl, I never loved one like you.
Moats and boats and waterfalls, alleyways and payphone calls. I've been everywhere with you.
That's true. We'll laugh until we think we'll die, barefoot on a summer night. Nothing new is sweeter than with you.
And in the streets you run free like it's only you and me. Geez, you're something to see. Home, let me come home. Home is wherever I'm with you. Home, let me come home. Home is wherever boats and waterfalls, alleyways and payphone calls. Oh, home, oh, oh, home, oh, oh. Home is when I'm alone with you. Oh, home, oh, oh, home, oh, oh. Home is when I'm alone with you.
Thank you. And now for today's announcements. Faculty announcements, when the mic is there. Thank you, Mr. Mink.
Nothing unusual. Ensemble today, string players in here, 11:45. See you then.
All right, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. 2 fun, small little activities to keep you occupied today. We have 71 hearts that look like this, decorated, hidden around the school. Compliments of my 2 little boys who had a fabulous time doing that yesterday. So I don't know where they are, but I sent them loose, and there's 71 of these. You will see a Hornet jacket, the vases downstairs right outside the main office. When you find them, put them either if you're a Hornet or a jacket. Number 2, thank you, Miss Mills. She went out and bought a bunch of Valentine's Day M&Ms. We have filled this jar. This jar will be in my office at lunchtime. So starting at 11:45 when the bell rings, all during lunch. Feel free to come in, put your name on a piece of paper, guess how many M&Ms there are, and at the end of the day, I will email, or maybe I'll announce it over the PA. The winner will win this jar of M&Ms. Okay, so come place your guess at lunchtime and look for the hearts. Happy Valentine's Day.
So there's another activity that Faith is going to share.
So there's a couple activities in the library for Valentine's Day. There's going to be a book art activity, which is like making hearts out of old books, and they're super cute, so I definitely recommend. And then there's also going to be a blind date with a book featuring some new books, so definitely stop by sometime today or later for the blind date with a book. And yeah, thank you.
We're going to finish announcements, so student announcements.
Hello. Okay, so Valentine's Day. We are going to be handing out the Valentines in Ms. Cunningham's room. Make sure everyone goes because everyone got something. But to make sure it's not cluttered, either if the line's too long, please come back, COVID, or we will call down each grade during lunch. Thank you.
There's a community service board meeting, so all class reps look out for an email about when and where. Thank you.
Any others? No? Okay, everyone get out.